Hello viewers, welcome back to class. Now we have come to the session where we'll be looking at quadratic equation by factorization method. So guys, don't forget, if you are new in this YouTube channel, do consider subscribing to this YouTube channel and ensure that you turn on the post notification bell so that anytime we upload mind-blowing content, you will be notified. Don't forget our policy, do not skip any part of this video for your benefit and ensure that you avoid every unnecessary distraction that can disconnect you from the flow. And also ensure that if you do not understand any aspect of this video, that's the reason why we have it in video format. You can pause to replay and watch over and over again till you master that aspect that you're finding difficult. All right. Now, also, there is no need for you to move to the next video. If you have not mastered this particular video, you are just watching. And don't forget, at the end of this video, make sure you like this video, make your necessary comment, and share this video. Now, guys, let's get started. How do we use factorization method to solve quadratic equation? Like I explained earlier on, I made it clear that for you to be able to use quadratic factorization method to solve any quadratic equation, you must first of all ascertain whether the quadratic equation is factorizable. Are you there? Yes, you must first of all ascertain whether the quadratic equation is factorizable. Now, how do we get that done? We are going to get started. Now, understand that in solving quadratic equation with factorization method, there is something that you must know. All right. Now, what are those things that you must know? If, for instance, I have x plus a multiplied by x plus b all equal to 0. You know, when we are asked to factorize any quadratic equation, at the end we are going to end up having a product of two brackets. Is that correct? And now, having known that we are looking for x, that shows that a and b are supposed to be the roots of this particular equation. Is that correct? Now, understand that mathematically, for the product of two functions to be 0, it is either the first one is 0 or the second one is 0. And this is the condition to which we will be solving problems when we get to this level. So, if a times b is equal to 0, for this equation to be true, it is either a, b is equal to 0 to have a times 0 equal to 0, or a is equal to 0 to have 0 times b equal to 0. So what do we mean here? Since we do not really know any of these equations that will turn out to be 0, then we will assume either the first bracket is equal to 0 or the second bracket is equal to 0. So please don't forget, this is a condition that you must know here anytime you are solving quadratic equation by factorization method. Having factorized the quadratic expression effectively, the next thing you do is to assume either the first bracket to be equal to 0 or the second bracket equal to 0 for the product of these two functions to be 0. So mathematically, for the product of two functions to be equal to 0, now guys, get it clear that one of the functions must be 0 in itself. And we don't know the one that is 0, so we now assume whether the first is 0 or the second is 0 because we are not sure. This is try and error. Is that correct? So it's just a try and error. We are not sure of the exact equation or the exact function that is equated to be 0. So that's the reason why we take the first to be 0, or also we take the second to be 0. And by so doing, you are going to obtain two values. So those two values you obtain are called the roots of that particular equation. And those roots of those that equation, when you impute or substitute it back into the equation that you were given, it must turn the left-hand side of the equation to be 0, just as the right-hand side is already equal to 0. And don't forget also, for every quadratic equation, the right-hand side is always equal. The first question we are asked to solve x squared plus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0 using factorization method. So guys, this is our solution. Now we have x squared plus 5x plus 6 is equal to 0. Now guys, like I explained before when we were looking at factorization of quadratic expression, the first thing you do is to multiply the highest degree of x with the one without x, which is the constant. Don't forget, this is 6 without x, that's the constant. So you multiply the leading function with what the constant. Now when I multiply x squared by plus 6, guys, we will have this to be what? Plus 6 x squared. Now the next thing we are quickly going to do is to look for two factors of 6. Two factors such that when we multiply these factors, we will have 6, and when we add or subtract these factors, we will have the middle number. Are you there? Yes, this is how it works. So the first thing we will do now is to find the factors of 6. Now, this first column indicates the first factor, while the second column indicates the second factors. Now, guys, for the product of two factors to be positive, it is either both are positive or both are negative. Don't forget this theory, right? So now, the factors of 6 will be 6 times 1 first, or minus 6 times minus 1. All of this will give us positive 6. Then also we have 3 times 2, or minus 3 times minus 2. So the product of these 4 factors here will all give us plus 6. But we will not be using all of these factors here. No, we are only going to make use of one. And the one we will go with is controlled by what the middle term of the given equation. So when we come to the middle term here, the middle term is plus 5x. Is that correct? So we will look out for the summation of any of these guys that will give us plus 5. So all I just need to do now is to add up these factors. Why this will give us plus 7, this will give us minus 7, this will give us plus 5, and this last one will give us what? Minus 5. Yes, 6 plus 1, minus 6 plus minus 1, 3 plus 2, minus 3 plus minus 2. So these are the results. Now, among these factors, now which one give us the middle, the coefficient of the middle term? It is the third factor, which is plus 2 and plus 3. Therefore, we will ignore all other factors and go with the one that have positive 3 and positive 2. Now, guys, I've explained over time the reason why we are doing this is to ensure that these terms that are given in 3 places will now appear in 4 places so that we can group it 2 by 2. We group the first 2 terms and group the last 2 terms and find what is common between them. Are we there? So at this point, now that we have known that we can decide to put x here, put s here, and when we multiply this by this, we are going to have 6x squared. And when we add this together, we are going to have 5x. So what we need to do now, we will come here and replace this 5x by 3x and plus 2x. Understand that the summation of this will still give us 5x back. Alright? Then plus 6 plus this all equal to 0. It's as simple as this, guys. Then the next thing we do is to consider the first 2 terms and also consider the last 2 terms. Now, between the first 2 terms, something is common there, guys. And what is common? S is here, x is here. So it's only s that is common between the first 2 terms. I'll put down x, then open a bracket. Now, s squared divided by x, we will have x left. 3s divided by what? X, you are going to have 3s cancel x. You are done with that. Then this middle sign, put it down. Between 2x and 6, s is not common, right? Now, 6 is divisible by 2. That means 2 is a factor of itself and 6. Therefore, what is common between 2x and 6 is 2. All we just need to do is to divide 2x by 2. S will be left. Then 6 divided by 2, we are going to have 3, which is equated to 0. At this point now, the next thing we are quickly going to do is to collect the what? The multiplication factors. Now, what are multiplication factors here? The multiplication factors are those terms that are outside the bracket. Are you there? Yes. Those terms that are outside the bracket. Now, the first term that is outside the bracket is x, and the second one here is plus 2. So we bring them together to form one bracket. Hence, we have this as x plus 2. We have used it to form one bracket. Then pick one of these equal brackets. Like I explained in our previous class, I made it clear that these 2 brackets must have equal values. Then we will now pick one of them, which is x plus 3 equated to 0. Now, here is where we now come to find the roots of the equation. Now that you have successfully factorized this equation, all you need to do is that for the product of 2 functions to be equated to the 0, that means one of the function must be 0 in itself. Therefore, we assume it is either x plus 2 is equal to 0 or x minus plus 3 is equal to 0. All we need to do now is to collect like terms. Therefore, we are going to have x is equal to 0 minus. Now, when plus 2 crosses the sign of the equality, we have minus 2. Or x is equal to 0 minus 3. We collected like terms. Now, this will have given us x is equal to minus 2 or x is equal to minus 3. 0 minus 3 is minus 3. 0 minus 2 is minus 2. Therefore, finally, s is equal to minus 2 or minus 3. This is the answer to this particular equation. And these 2 answers we just have are what are called the roots of the quadratic equation. So, understand that when you substitute minus 2 into this equation here, we are going to have the left hand side to be 0. And also, if you substitute minus 3 into this equation, we are going to have this left hand side to be 0. But when you substitute plus 2 or plus 3, you will never have 0 here. Alright? So any value that you substitute here and the outcome is not 0, it shows that that value is not the root of this equation. For every root of any equation, when you substitute it into that equation, it must turn out to be 0. That is how quadratic equations works. Now guys, let's get into the business of solving question number 2. On the board, we are asked to solve y squared minus 5y plus 4 is equal to 0. It's the same way, guys. Put down solution. Then we have y squared minus 5y plus 4 is equal to 0. Now guys, the first thing you do is to multiply the constant, which is the term without y, by the y with the highest power, which is the first term here, or the leading function. Now, all I need to do is to multiply this by this constant, and this would have given us plus 4y squared. The next thing we are quickly going to do, guys, is to look for the factors of plus 4y squared or plus 4y squared. Alright, so we will have this as plus 4, then create a table, a column for the first factors and the other for the second factor. Now, the first factor of 4 is 4 times 1. And understand that for the product of two factors to give you a positive result, it is either both are positive or both are negative. Then I can also have this as minus 4 times minus 1. Understand that this will also give us positive result. Then finally, we have 2 times 2 and minus 2 times minus 2 will also give us positive results here. Now guys, what is the next thing that we do? The next thing we are quickly going to do is to now come to the given equation and check the coefficient of the middle term, which is y, the coefficient of y, yes. So now here, the coefficient of y here is minus 5. Alright, so we have minus 5 as the coefficient of what x. So we are going to add up these values that we have here, these factors that we have here, and see the one that will give us minus 5. The one that gives us minus 5 is the factor that is suitable for this particular quadratic function. Hope you've got that, yes. So when we add this together, guys, we are going to have plus 5. When we equally add this, we are going to have minus 5. When we add this, we are going to have plus 4. And when we add this, we are going to have minus 4. Now, among these factors that we have here, the one that gave us the coefficient of the middle function is minus 4 and minus 1. That shows that this is minus 4y and this is minus 1y. So in place of minus 5y, we are going to replace it with minus 4y minus 1y, which is minus y, plus 4 is equal to 0. Guys, hope this is taken. Now, haven't replaced minus 5y with minus 4y and minus y, which in turn will give us this back. We will now consider the first two terms and as well consider the last two terms. Now, between the first two terms, what is common there is just y. So we are going to put down y, open the bracket now. Y squared divided by y, guys, we will have y. Then put down this minus 4y divided by y cancel y, we are left with 4. Now, when you multiply out this bracket now, you are going to get this result back, right? Then we put down the middle sign. Now, between y and 4, nothing is common. I've explained in our previous class that anytime you have nothing in common between two terms, 1 is common. So, since we have nothing in common here, we have 1 in common. So, what we have in common there is 1. Then we are going to have y minus 4, which is equal to 0. Now, understand that what you have in the first bracket must be equal to what you have in the second bracket. That's all it is. Then, the next thing we are quickly going to do is to what? Collate the multiplication factors, which are the terms outside the bracket. And the first term outside the bracket here is y. And the second term outside the bracket is minus 1. So we bring them together to form one bracket. Then we can pick one of these equal brackets. We have 4y minus 4. Pick one, they're equal to 0. For the product of two functions to be 0, one of them must be 0. But because of the fact that we do not know exactly the one that is equal to 0, so we assume either the first is equal to 0 or the second is equal to 0. Therefore, we are going to have y minus 1 is equal to 0 or y minus 4 is equal to 0. Therefore, we are going to collect like 10. We are taking this minus 1 across. Now, when minus 1 crosses the sign of equality, we are going to have plus 1. Guys, there is no need to put 0 plus 1. Let's just ignore the 0 because 0 plus anything remains the same. Then, or when we take minus 4 across the sign of equality and add it to 0, we are going to have plus 4. Therefore, y is equal to 1 or 4. These are the roots of this equation. So when I substitute 1 into this equation now, I am going to have 0. And when I equally substitute 4 into this equation, I'm still going to have 0. But if I substitute minus 1 or minus 4 into this equation, it's not going to give me 0, because for every quadratic equation, you only have 2 roots. And those 2 roots are what makes the equation to be valid. If this is gotten, guys, let's get into the next business, which is question number 3. I hope you are getting values from this class. I know that, yes. Without that, you are getting values. Now let's get up to this page again. In question number 3, y squared plus 8y plus 16 is equal to 0. So guys, what do? The first thing we do is to multiply this constant by the highest power of y, which is the leading function. Are you there? Or the leading term. Now for this leading term, this guy times this guy, guys, we have plus 16 y squared. So the product of the first term times the last term here will give us plus 16 y squared, guys. What is the next thing we quickly do? We will come here and have our plus 16 here. So the first factor, 2 factors of 16 is 16 times 1. And understand that here, we also have a positive result. And we know that for the product of 2 functions to be positive, for the product of 2 factors to be positive, it is either both are positive, positive, or both are negative, negative. So we will have this to be what? Minus 16 times minus 1. Then the next is 8 times 2, or minus 8 times minus 2. Then we also have 4 times 4, or minus 4 times minus 4. This is what we have. These are the 6 factors of plus 16. Yes, these are the factors of plus 16. Are we there? Now, what do we do now? What controls any of these factors we are going to pick? Among these 5 factors is the middle term here. Now, the middle term is plus 8y. That shows that the coefficient of the middle term is plus 8. So we put down this plus 8 here, and then come here, add up all of these factors. Any of these factors that gives you plus 8 is the one we are going to go with. Now this guy will give us plus 17. This other guy will give us minus 17. This guy will give us plus 10. This other guy will give us minus 10. This guy will give us plus 8, and this other guy will give us what? Minus 8. So among all of these factors that we have here, it is positive 4 and positive 4 that gave us 8. So therefore, we are going to ignore all other factors and make use of 4y and 4y. So if I decide to add y here and add y here, 4y times 4y will give me 16y squared. And when I add 4y to 4y, I'm going to have 8y. So which agrees to what we have here. Therefore, we will then replace this 8y by 4 plus 4y. So you're going to have y squared plus 4y plus 4y plus 16 is equal to. Now at this point, guys, all we need to do now is to consider the first 2 terms and also consider the last 2 terms. Now, these are the first 2 terms, these are the last 2 terms. Between the first 2 terms now, what is common here? This is y squared plus 4y. It's only y that is common. So put down y, open the bracket. Y squared divided by y, guys, we have y. Now plus 4y divided by 4 by y, we are going to have 4. Y cancels y. Then plus this middle. Now this is 4y and this is 16. Y is not common. But what is common there is 4, because 4 is a factor of 16. Therefore, we put down 4. Open a bracket. Now 4y divided by 4, we will be left with y. Then plus 16 divided by 4, we will have this to be 4, equal to 0. Now guys, at this point, all we need to do is to collate the multiplication factors, which are the factors or terms outside the bracket. We will add them up together, or we join them together to form one bracket. Now, the first term outside the bracket there is y. Then the other term outside the bracket is this plus 4. Then we close it in one bracket, then open another bracket, then pick one of these equal brackets, because we said that these 2 brackets must be equal for you to be correct. And this is equal to 0. So now, for the product of 2 functions to be equated to be 0, it shows that either the first function is equal to 0 or the second function is equal to 0. Hence, we will have that y plus 4 is equal to 0 or y plus 4 is equal to 0. Now, when we collect like terms, plus 4 crosses from left hand side to the right hand side, it will automatically become minus 4. Or similarly, when plus 4 crosses from the left hand side to the right hand side, we will equally have minus 4. Therefore, y is equal to minus 4 or minus 4. And finally, y is equal to minus 4 twice. So this is how this is written. When you have equal values or equal roots, you pick one of the values and say it twice. This is it. So some of you have gone to the back of your textbook and see that you have something like this. It shows that the two values you obtain or the two roots you obtain, they are equal and the same. Alright? Now they have equal magnitude and equal sign. Alright? But if for instance this was positive and this is negative, they are not the same. Alright? They are different. Now guys, thank you for watching this video. I know you got lots of values in this video. Question 4, 5, and 6 in another category, still using factorization method. Guys, this is going to be mind-blowing. Follow us up as we hold you by the hand and walk you through the process of solving quadratic equation using factorization method. Don't forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not done so, and turn on the post notification bell for more exciting video. And don't forget to like this current video, like this current video. Love you guys. See you in the next class. Hello viewers, welcome back to class. Alright, this is a continuation class. We have been looking at quadratic equation by factorization method before now, so we are going to continue from the very first point where we stop. Now guys, don't forget, if you are new in this YouTube channel, please do consider subscribing to this YouTube channel and turn on the post notification bell for more exciting videos. Don't forget to like this video and share this video to your friends, your classmates, your classmates, and even your enemies. Even as a teacher, don't forget to share to your students. Recommend this channel to your students so that they can come online and learn things for themselves at the comfort of their homes or even at their offices. Now guys, let's get started. Don't forget, one of the policies that we maintain here is that you must not skip any part of this video, then followed by you must avoid every unnecessary distraction. And also, this teaching is in video format, so that any point you do not understand, you can pause, replay, and watch it over and over again till you master it. Finally, don't forget that you are not permitted to move to the next video if you have not understand what the things that are being taught here. So you must ensure that you maximize everything that we teach here before you move to the next video. If this is taking then guys, we are good to work together now. Let's get started. Now on the board, we are still, like I explained, we are still looking at factorization of quadratic equations. Alright, we are looking at factorization method. Now we have question 4 on the board, question 5, and question 6. So in this video, we are going to be solving only these 3 questions. Then we will now solve question 7, 8, 9, 10 in another session. And these aspects are going to be other aspect of it. Now, at this point, the first thing that we are quickly going to do is to put down our solution, reveal the equation, which is this minus 7x plus 2 equal to 0. So guys, when you compare this question to the first aspect of factorization method that we saw before, you discover that all the problems we solved from question number 1 to 3, the leading function or the leading term had a coefficient of 1 or 2. But now in this case, you see that the leading term has a coefficient greater than 1, which is 6. And it does not change the pattern of solving in as much as we are still using factorization method. So what do we do when we are using factorization method? The first thing we do is to use the leading term to multiply the constant. Are we there? So this guy will multiply this. When I multiply 6s squared by 2, we are going to have plus 12s squared. Yes, 6s squared times 2. That would have given us plus 12s squared. So the next thing we quickly do is to find the factors of plus 12. Of course, this is no longer something new that you cannot work on. We said that for the product of 2 factors to be positive, it shows that either the first is positive, both positive, or both are negative. So I either have minus 12 and minus 1, or I have 6 times 2 minus 6. I have 6 times 2 or minus 6 minus 2, or I have 4 times 3 or minus 4 minus 3. These are the factors of 12 whose product will give us plus 12. Now, are we there? Now the next thing we are quickly going to examine is, among these 6 factors that we have here, only one of the factors is suitable for this question. How do we get that? All we just need to do is to come back to our equation that we were given and see the coefficient of the middle term. Alright, now here the middle term has a coefficient of -7. So therefore, we are quickly going to add up these factors and see the one that will turn out to be -7 without wasting much of our time. Some of us that are very smart, we already know that the last one will be, right? But let's quickly add up. Now understand that we are adding them up, okay? So when I add this up, this will give us +13. When we add this up, this will give us -13. When we add this up, this will give us +8. When we add this up, this will give us -3. When we add this up, this will give us +7. And when we add this up, this will give us -7. So among all these factors that we have here, the one whose sum gave us the middle term is the last two terms. The one whose product is this and whose sum is -7 is the last factors. Therefore, we are going to go with the last factors. Hence, in place of -7, we will replace it with -3x and -4x plus 2 equal to 0. It's as simple as this, guys. All we need to do now is, all we just quickly need to do here is to group this term 2 by 2. And how do we group them? We consider the first two terms, then consider the last two terms. Are we there? Yes. Now, between the first two terms, which is 6s squared minus 3, what is common here, guys, is 3. Put down 3. And also, s squared is there, s is there, that means 3s is common. So when I divide 6s squared by 3x, we are going to have 2x. Alright? 6 divided by 3 is 2, and s squared divided by x is x. Then minus 3x divided by 3x, we have 1. Anything divided itself is 1. Then put down this minus at the center here. Then between this term and this term, guys, what is common there is 2, because this is 4x and this is 2, so s is not common. The only thing that is common there is 2, so we put down -2. Then open a bracket. Now at this point, all we just need to do is to divide this first term by -2. So when I divide -4s by 2 minus 2, we are going to have 2x, and when we divide +2 by -2, we are going to have -1. And this is equated to 0. Understand that the two brackets must be equal, alright? Yes, they must be equal. Now the next we do is to collate the multiplication factors to form one bracket. Are we there? And the first multiplication factor here, which are the terms outside the bracket, is 3x. Next is -2. Then followed by one of the equal bracket, which is 2x minus 1, all equated to 0. Now, at this point, understand that for the product of two functions to be 0, it is either the first one is equal to 0 or the second is equal to 0. So, we will go with this try and error method. -2 is equal to 0, or 2x minus 1 is equal to 0. So, the first thing we are quickly going to do now is to collect like terms. Now, we are going to have 3x is equal to, as we take -2 across the sign of equality, we are going to have this, or 2x, and as we take -1 to the right hand side, we are going to have +1. Now understand that if you are not still good with linear equations, go to linear equation, where we taught everything about linear equation. Alright, you can go to linear equation and learn some of these things that we have here. If you really do not understand what we are doing at this point, but I guess you understand, because this is very, very explanatory, right? Now the next thing we are quickly going to do now is that we are not looking for 3x. We must ensure that we have 1x. So what do? We need to divide both sides by the coefficient of x, and we will divide both sides by 3 here. So when we divide both sides by 3 here, this is going to give us 2/3, or this is going to give us, well, here we are going to divide both sides by 2 so that we have 1x here, and this will give us 1/2. Then finally, s is equal to 2/3, or 1/2. So guys, for this particular question we just solved now, the roots of this equation are 2/3 and 1/2. Any other value outside this will not make this equation to be true. So the only values or roots that will make this equation to be valid are these two values we just obtained. So to validate whether you are correct, you can just pick one of these values and substitute in place of x, and check out whether the left hand side will turn out to be 0, just as the right hand side is already 0. Okay guys, we have question number 5 on the board. Let's quickly look at this question number 5. Question number 5, we are asked to solve 3y squared minus 13y minus 10 is equal to 0. So guys, what do we do here? The first thing we are quickly going to do here is to multiply the leading term with the constant. Alright? So when we multiply 3y squared by minus 10, we are going to have this to be minus 30y squared. Now the next we do is to find the factors of minus 30. Two factors of minus 30. So first column for the first factor, second column for the second factor, right? Now understand that this is minus 30, and for the product of two factors to give us minus 30, then one of those factors must be a negative. Therefore, I have either minus 30 times 1 or 30 times minus 1. This is the first factor of 30. Alright? Then also we have 15 times 2, which is minus 15, or 15 times minus 2. Then we have 30. We now have 10 times 3, which this is minus 10, and y this is 10, this is minus 3. Then finally we have 6 times 5, where this is minus 5 and this is 6. This is minus 5. So you see now 30 has about 8 factors. And all of these factors are not needed. We only need 1 out of 8. So how do we get the one here that we need? We'll get the one that we fit into this equation by simply coming to the question that we were given and trace the coefficient of the middle term. The coefficient of what? So the coefficient of the middle term here is minus 13. So what do? We quickly add up all these factors together. Add them up and see the one that will give us minus 13. Then that is the one that will fit this question. So this will give us minus 29. Why this will give us positive 29? This will give us minus 13. Why this will have given us 113? Guys, I don't need to waste my time. If you keep adding every other thing that you have here, you are not going to have minus 13 again. You only have minus 13 once among all these factors here, right? You know how to have those ones done. Now we have already got to minus 13, so I will leave out others. Okay, for doubting Thomas, let's quickly check this out. This will give us minus 7. Why this one will give us 7? This will give us minus 1. Why this one will give us 1? So you see that among these factors that are here, only minus 15 and plus 2 will give us minus 13y, and their product also will give us minus 30. So if this is understood, then we will come here and replace this middle term now by these two factors. Then this will have given us 3y squared minus 15y plus 2y, then minus this 10. So we just replace this by these two factors, equated to 0. Now guys, at this point, all we just need to do here is to group these terms 2 by 2. So we consider the first two terms and also consider the last two terms. So between the first two and the last two, there is something that must be common. Something is common. So how do we get the common term here now? Here, we first of all check their coefficient. This is 3, this is 15. And 15 is divisible by 3, right? So it shows that 3 is a factor of 15. There, 3 is common. Pull down 3. Then the next thing we are quickly going to do is to check. Here I have y squared, here I have y. That means y is common. Go with the list. So 3y squared divided by 3y, we are going to be left with y. Then put down this minus 15y divided by 3y. Y cancel y, 15 divided by 3, we have 5. Then put down this middle sign, which is plus. Now this is 2y and this is minus 10. Y is not common, but 2 is common. So what do we do here? We are quickly going to pull that 2 and simply repeat the first bracket. Simple as that. Or otherwise, say 2y divided by 2, you have y, and 10 divided by 2, you have minus 5. Then finally, the next thing we do is to collect the multiplication factors, which are the terms outside the bracket, right? And the first term that is outside the bracket here now is 3y, while the next is 2. You put them in one bracket, then open another bracket, then you can now pick one of these equal brackets, which is 5y minus 5. This is equal to 0. Now, as usual, for the product of two factors to be 0, one must be 0. So it's either the first, which is 3y plus 2 equal to 0, or the second is equal to 0. So this is try and error. And at this point now, all we need to do is to collect like terms. This will give us 3y. As plus 2 crosses, it becomes minus 2. Or y is equal to, as minus 5 crosses, it becomes plus 5. At this point now, we cannot stop here. This is already okay because the coefficient is 1. It has nothing to do with that. But this one, we cannot leave this as 3y. We need it to just be y. And how do we do? How do we eliminate these 3? We quickly divide both sides by 3. And when we do that, we are going to have y is equal to minus 2 over 3, or y is equal to 5. Now we can pick one of the y's. Have that y is equal to minus 2 over 3, or 5. This is the answer to this particular question, question number 5. Now guys, let's head on to solving question number 6. Yes, question number 6. We are going to be looking at question number 6. Now we put down our solution. Question number 6, we have 2x squared minus 2x minus 5 all equal to 0. Everything here is negative. So the first thing we are quickly going to do is to multiply 2x squared, which is the leading term, by the constant term. Are we there? And when we multiply the leading term by the constant term, we have this to be what? Minus 10x squared. Now the next thing we do is to look out for the factors of minus 10. So it's either, now, like I said, that for the product of two factors to be a negative, it is either the first is negative or the second is negative. One of the factors must be negative. Therefore, it is either I have minus 10 times 1 to give me minus 10 or 10 times minus 1. You see, we do not know whether it is 10 that will be negative. And that's the reason why we assume first whether 10 is negative or 1 is negative. You must assume it in two sides. Alright? Then the other factors of 10 is 2. Now it's minus 10, so 1 must be negative. So this will be positive 5. This is minus 2. These are the factors that we have here. But these factors that we have here, all will not go with this question. For us to be able to know among these factors, the one that is suitable for this question is to check the middle term, the coefficient of the middle term, and see among the summation of all these factors here, the one that will give us the middle term, and the middle term here is minus 2. So guys, all we simply need to do now is to add up this. This will give us minus 9, this will give us plus 9, this will give us minus 3, this will give us plus 3. So guys, looking at these factors of 10 and their sum gave us minus 9, 9, minus 3, 3. None of this result gave us the middle term. It therefore shows that this function here is not factorizable. Hope this is clear. This function is not factorizable. Like I explained when we started, I mentioned that there are some quadratic expressions that are not factorizable. So this is how you check it out. There's another way to check it out, but when we get there, I will let you know, alright? But for now, this is how you check it out. Okay? You are asked to solve this with factorization method. Now, factorization method cannot solve this question. In as much as we do not get two values whose product will give us this and whose sum will give us this middle number. That means this function, quadratic equation, cannot be solved with factorization method. So you can try it out with either method of completing the square, formula method, or graphical method. Any of those three methods will give you the answer to this question, but not with factorization method, because this quadratic equation is not factorizable. Alright, so guys, we are going to head on to the next aspect. Now, the reason why I'm not going to solve this is because we have not gotten to other methods, so we are not asked to use any other method to solve yet. We are still dealing with factorization. So since this one is not factorizable, so we said all we just need to do here now is to see that the quadratic equation is not factorizable. So we'll stop here at this point. We'll understand that question number 7, 8 to 10. We are going to have that in another video. So see you guys in the next video. Bless you.